Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to yet another. It's May 19th, 2020. Damn, I was so looking forward to this year. First, it's in the symmetry of 2020, all of that. And now it's become this hellhole. Oh, it's Tuesday. Susan should be there. Susan, hi.
Speaking of hellholes.
No. Oh, God.
Well, the thought process was interesting. Hellhole. Oh, it's Tuesday. Susan's here. Okay.
Well, that reminds me of one of my favorites of all time. I forget what it was. It was Sally Wiggin anchoring and doing the weather. Was somebody else?
I remember that she
and
said
I forget
something.
what it was, but it was going to be so. The word was frigid, and it's really going to be frigid. Speaking of frigid,
right? Speaking
of frigid, here's Sally Wiggin, something like that. Although it couldn't have been that, it was close.
Something like that. Yeah.
It sounds like something Sally herself would have said. So she might have said something like, yeah, speaking of frigid, I'm Sally Wiggin. It sounds more like something she would say.
Right,
rather than somebody to her. Anyway, no, you're not a hellhole, but this friggin' goddamn son of a bitch. Susan.
Yes.
I want you to translate something. I want you to tell me, what is it that this story is not telling me? I came upon this, I think, yesterday, and I hate these little news, sort of bullet things, just a little bit of something, and it just leaves you with really serious, follow-up questions that don't get answered. Okay, here it is. I want you to answer the obvious question here, okay?
Okay.
Queen guitarist Brian May, okay, Queen guitarist, the band, not Brian May.
I know, I understand.
Okay.
I got the whole thing. The guitarist for the band Queen, yes.
Yeah, Brian May, 72 years old, informed his 2.5 million Instagram followers that, quote, in a moment of enthusiastic gardening, he managed to, quote, rip my gluteus maximus to shreds. In lieu of mockery, May asked for a healing silence while his torn buttocks regenerate as, quote, the pain is relentless.
Well, he must have scratched his ass with a pitchfork.
No. Is that what you come up with? Now, wait a minute. He ripped, a moment of enthusiastic gardening. What the hell? He rips his gluteus.
He ran a tiller over his ass. I mean,
come on. I thought you're the bullshitter. I thought you'd come up with something more plausible.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what creates the damage that he's described.
Yeah, how do you rip a muscle?
How do you rip in multiple places an ass muscle unless you are attacked by a multi-headed object? So that led me immediately to a pitchfork.
Okay.
Or a tiller, which is going to rip up. So I think it was an electric tiller. He tripped and it ran amok over his ass.
Well, it's better than anything I came up with. Anybody else want to get in on this? But do you see what I mean? Now, why tell me that and not tell me what the hell did he do?
Right.
A moment of enthusiastic gardening. It sounds like he did something like he was. That's the part that makes me think it was something that he was toying with. He was being reckless, maybe, with an object like that, a moment of enthusiastic gardening.
It has to involve a fall and then an object eating up, either falling on the object, creating the damage on his ass, or having the object create the damage upon his buttocks. How many different ways can I say this?
That's fine. I mean, who would think we'd be talking about Brian May's buttocks?
Well,
right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Well, I have to tell you, I mean, we have to.
Well, I've been concentrating. I have been having thoughts and prayers. I mean, since yesterday.
For who? For
our president.
Yes, on his hydroxychloroquine.
Yes, I'm just hoping that it works as advertised. So I'm thinking really hard.
Well, God, it just keeps coming. You can't.
Well, when you got the doctor on Fox News saying, "No, really, don't do that."
It wasn't even the doctor. It was one of the anchors. It was that Cavuto guy.
Anchor. Oh, the
yeah, it was an anchor. No, it'll kill you. It'll kill you. You can't. We're beyond. You can't make it up. I can't even. Jesus Christ.
No, we went beyond. You can't make it up when Pence said he couldn't wear a mask because he wanted to see their eyes.
Oh,
that was my limit.
All right. Well, all of our limits have been stretched to the limits and beyond. Yeah. Yeah, so all the doctors out there are going nuts. They're serious. And one doctor said, look, it's his decision. It's irresponsible as hell, but fine, let him do it. But the real damage he's doing is, of course, the example he is setting. Unbelievable. Now, here's the big question, though. Is
most of all, that you tell your doctor what they want them to prescribe, and then they're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, what commercials for medications on television suggest to patients that they should do. And that's not true, guys. Yes, you should be informed about your health care so that you aren't malpracticed upon, but you should assume that it's your doctor telling you and not the other way around. And in fact, 95% of all mistakes made by doctors happen when they allow their patient to diagnose themselves.
Well, a lot of doctors have simply thrown up their hands because of all the commercials and people coming to them with this, that, and they said, okay, you want it, you can have it, but they would never have prescribed it. Yeah. Okay, so here's the bigger question. And somebody, a friend emailed me this today. She said, do you believe him? She said, I don't think he's taking it. Now that, first of all, here in her defense, if Donald Trump said he is taking it, it's a lie.
That means nothing. Right.
Right. It's a lie because he lies more than he tells the truth. So the fact that he says it suggests pretty strongly, given our experience with this idiot, that he is not taking it.
Or at least he's not taking it daily, or
whatever.
He's not, whatever.
Whatever. It's not the truth. On the other hand, he is somebody who is a fool, and he trusts his gut, truly. He said
and he might very well forget that he makes stuff up, or latches onto things.
And the reason it's enough for him, I'll use his own words, I take it because I think I hear very good things.
Right.
No, what? He thinks he hears. Now, he could be doing audio hallucinations. I don't know. I think I hear. So he's willing to take a drug based on anecdotal evidence that he wants to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's enough. And then he says quite strongly, I'm not going to get hurt by it. You know who is going to get hurt? Other people.
Right.
And you know who else is getting hurt? All the people with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis who need the drug and can't get it. Anyway, Susan, because you mentioned this, and you'll like this, Eric Topol, a cardiologist. This is his statement. You will like this. He said the risk of developing a potentially fatal arrhythmia because of hydroxychloroquine could come without warning and did not happen only in people with heart conditions. Quote, Dr. Topol said, "We can't predict. In fact, it can happen in people who are healthy. It can happen in anyone." Okay, so if he is taking it, he is putting himself
prayers, folks. Thoughts and prayers
at risk.
Okay,
but
so
I don't know that he's taking
I just want to tell you, in 50-degree, rainy, cold, blustery Green Bay, a hummingbird just came right up to the
window,
to the window, and put his nose on my nose and just stared at me for a while.
Why do they do that? Come up to the window and stare at you?
I don't know.
I always think it's
somebody.
Yeah, I do. I always have thought it was somebody. Well, okay. You just can't make it up. Okay. We got a little more here. Hang on. Bree wants to. This is a good laugh, says Bree, and maybe you saw this on Twitter, which is where I saw it. But I think this is a ripoff of something that was earlier reported at a bowling alley in Millvale, I think, where they had a sign posted saying something, "You cannot only touch your own balls."
Oh, right.
Right.
We've discussed this before, right?
Yeah. But all of a sudden, there's this video of some woman, and I'm not sure. Okay, so local politicians, coronavirus tennis ball warning. So she's talking about tennis balls, and this is Nassau County Executive in New York State. Oh God, Laura Curran, and she said about the tennis equipment, you can kick their balls, but you cannot touch them. There are two masked police officers standing behind her, and you can even tell with their masks on, they are like howling. Then she says, "Oh, I'm going to blush," because she realized what she said, but it didn't end there. And she said, to avoid confusion between whose balls are whose, you can use a marker like a Sharpie to mark out an X or put someone's initials on them. Well, I don't think that's as funny, but so that's already been, you can touch your own balls, but...
Right. This is like my mother-in-law's, may she rest in peace, turkey recipe.
Oh, right.
Right, which is first you tie your legs together, and then you
tie
butter
your legs together.
First you got to tie your legs together, and then you butter your breasts. So every Thanksgiving we always hop around the kitchen buttering our breasts. Which isn't easy to do, hopping around with your legs tied. It's not easy to do, but the turkey always comes out well in spite of it.
Oh. Little Tony says, I, for one, don't believe Trump is taking hydroxychloroquine. He and his buddies that's what I think. They have some kind of a financial stake in the drug. That's what I'm thinking. He doesn't give a damn who it might hurt. I do believe he is morbidly obese, which is what Nancy Pelosi called him.
Right, that was funny. It was a good excuse for Nancy Pelosi to just call him a fat pig.
Yeah.
Because I do believe he is, how do you say, morbidly obese?
And he has high cholesterol. And there's no way. I mean, he is not in good shape.
There's no way he doesn't have high blood pressure and isn't on some sort of high blood pressure medication.
You would think.
And for that matter, given his girth, he probably I would imagine that he also has, how do you say on those commercials, ED and perhaps low T as well.
Now wait. Oh, he has low testosterone and erectile dysfunction.
Right.
Right. Do you remember the first time they started airing those commercials?
I know. They always involved elderly men and women sitting in bathtubs.
Separate bathtubs
in a field.
What the fuck?
And I said to myself, well, that's your problem right there.
Yeah. You might want to lose one of the bathtubs. What the I still don't understand what the hell that is. We're remembering that, right? Aren't we?
Yeah, well, we both have the same memory, so how can we not,
What the hell is that about? Okay, well, while we're in the bathroom, I just want to revisit the Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court was hearing oral arguments in a toilet flush. Right?
I didn't hear that.
You didn't? Oh, Suze, this happened like last week. The Supreme Court was doing oral arguments, and they're all on
toilet flush, right?
And a toilet flushed. No one owns up to it. No one. However,
we should be able to figure out of
Ashley Feinberg, and I don't know if she works for Slate. She said her audio analysis, and not here again, I don't know what her audio analysis was. She says points very strongly to Justice Stephen Breyer. But I don't know. How would you know? But she says there's reasonable doubt, so that means he ain't guilty.
That's only a criminal standard, and flushing of a toilet does not rise to that level of proof. It would be a preponderance of the evidence in this case.
A preponderance of, but what evidence could there be? I mean, I haven't seen what other people have, because other people figure it. But I don't know. I do not know. Okay. Oh, I want so much to stay on this crap that doesn't mean anything.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I'm trying, but I'm using it all up too fast.
I'm sorry.
Because you know what's waiting in the bushes is like, just awful stuff.
Oh, pretty awful.
Okay,
stuff.
Here for laughs, and I haven't mentioned this on the show because sometimes things are so absurd that you can't. Here is evidence of why Donald Trump Jr. thinks he's a genius, and that is because he has a brother named Eric.
Right.
Because, literally all things being relative. Eric Trump, I haven't said anything because I can't even believe they say these things. He's appearing on Fox News with that awful human Perot, whatever her name is. Perot. And he says, Biden loves this. They think they're taking away Donald Trump's greatest tool, which is being able to go into an arena and fill it with 50,000 people every single time. So you watch. They will milk this every single day between now and November 3rd. And guess what? After November 3rd, coronavirus will magically all of a sudden go away and disappear, and everybody will be able to reopen. Do you fucking believe it?
Yeah, he thinks it's a hoax.
He thinks that that the Democrats have managed to create a hoax believed by the entire globe to shut
put
down
New York City out of commission. And where did all those bodies come from, by the way?
What? But here's the thing. Truth doesn't exist anymore. This is exactly what Vladimir Putin wanted to do to us, to make Americans not believe facts, to make Americans so confused. It's what they've done to the Russians for, ever. To make them so confused, so bewildered, so ready to throw up their hands and discount any authority telling them anything, that you end up with a country of total beaten down cynics who
I think they actually took it too far because Trump is so outrageous that enough of the country understands what's what, and the people that don't are clearly identifiable. I mean, I think if they had left it where they were just sabotaging quietly individual people over a number of years, like the way they destroyed Hillary over a number of years, just quietly waiting.
That's right.
And it wasn't a hurry job. What's happening now is so outrageous that people are onto it. That's the important thing, that it's happening. It only works if you don't know it's happening.
But you know what? I think the constant drip, 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 drumbeat of crazy nonsense of distraction, of calculations meant to make us scratch our heads, whatever, or not believe what our own...
Even when you give in to Chinese water torture and you confess, even when you confess, you're lying. They've goofed. We know that they're lying all the time. It's got to be better if you don't know where the lies are.
Well, we know they're lying, but how many of us are there?
Now, more of us than them.
Probably.
Increasingly.
Well, here's something.
Let me tell you an anecdote out of Wisconsin. Out of the state of which we once were proud. So the Supreme Court opens us up,
right.
And Brown County, in which Green Bay sits, extends the order for 6 days. It's not open yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to open, but then they start interviewing on the local news local merchants. So are you going to open? And the first one they interview is a woman. She says, well, here's the thing. That was a totally political decision by the court. It had nothing to do with science. It had nothing to do with what's appropriate in terms of health. So when I ask the health department what to do, they say stay closed. So closed I stay. And then they go to the next merchant. And I mean, Green Bay is supposedly red. They go to the next merchant. What are you going to do in the interviews? He ain't going to open up either for the same reason. The third merchant, the same thing. And I'm thinking to myself, surely if they could have found someone on the other side, they would have used him.
You would think.
So what you've got in Green Bay are, surprise, surprise, people who are thinking for themselves and understanding that they'll be in real trouble if they open up prematurely.
Yeah.
So, I think that there are more people, when faced with the question of do you risk your life or not, people begin to search for the truth. And the ones that don't, are sort of predictable.
I saw a video right before we began the show that was so beyond belief. It was a news report, also a local news report, I believe Galveston, Texas, and it was a beach, and there were a gazillion people, seemingly drunk, cavorting around in bathing suits, and and it had something to do with loving your Jeep. It was some Jeep thing. So there are people who love their Jeeps, and every person interviewed in that story was like the exact opposite of the people that you're talking about. It was like, oh yeah, I'm being real careful. I'm washing my hands for 20 seconds. Oh yeah, and I'm this and that, and just this, the level of, and the cops were there, and the cop is asked, well, can't you enforce social distancing? He said, there's no way. There's more of them than there are of us. I can't possibly do it. We're just here to make sure things don't get out of hand. And the report sort of parenthetically noted that 6 people did end up being arrested, blah, 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 this and that. And a whole bunch of them are in a few weeks going to,
be sick.
Yeah. So there are an awful lot of people like that. I don't know.
And, more of them are going to kill their parents and grandparents.
Yeah, they are. I wonder if they'll ever realize it. So, I know what I wanted to tell you. I wanted to share Susan, not you, Susan from Hempfield's thoughts about Trump taking the drug. And she says this: I see 3 possibilities here. 1, he's taken the drug. 2, he's lying about taking the drug. Or 3, the doctors are giving him a placebo. That's a good one.
Well, could be. We can make up anything we want.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But I don't know. Paul writes, I saw Vicki Lawrence on stage a few years ago, and she was making fun of the erectile dysfunction commercials as well. She said that her husband tried the drug, but now has severe back problems from dragging those 2 bathtubs to the beach every day. What the? I don't even understand the visual, though. I don't get it.
Oh, come on. You didn't make a running leap for a bathtub every time you got the itch.
Jeez. Okay, here's something that really
I think it's the 1990s equivalent of twin beds and the, in the Hays Code. But
God almighty. Here's
holding
something
hands in a bathtub. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Holding hands in a bathtub. Okay. Here, okay, I do want to talk about this because I have not. The 4th Inspector General has gone down.
Does anybody notice, a pattern here?
It's a little hard. Because I think 3 of these firings have been announced on a Friday night. Friday night is the traditional news, the black hole,
right.
That if you don't want people to really know about it,
right.
you let out this news on Friday night after the network news,
the
after
501, right.
And then you get a weekend, and given this administration, you get 700,000 other outrageous things that have happened. By Monday, nobody even notices. He's doing a slow motion Saturday night massacre.
Right.
He's taking out all of the oversight so that his grifters can do what they intend to do with nobody bothering them. This one, Steve Linick, he's the Inspector General for a pretty important department. It's called the State Department. And this is the 3rd time in 6 weeks that an Inspector General has been fired, and it's announced on a Friday night.
Yeah, well, he happened to notice that Mike Pompeo was using his staff to walk his dog and pick up his dry cleaning, and
more than that,
no-no.
More than that, it turns out, much more than that, it appears that there was something involving the issuing of an emergency order so that a huge arms sale could happen with the Saudis. And yeah, this is, let's see, what do I have here? The personal matter stuff is nothing compared to the fact that this appears to be linked to a big sale of weaponry that went around a congressional
the bypass Congress, or what would be the point of rushing it through.
That is right. So that's really what they're closing down. It's amazing.
Well, Congress has apparently noticed the last two. And everybody's just saying. And then there's the secretary of the woman that designed the portal from Florida, where anybody could look up by zip code the cases, and who is fired for not putting false information into the portal she designed for transparency and accuracy.
Right. She was fired. These things are happening in states with Republican governors now. In Georgia, they have put out they're trying to put out a trajectory making it look like the cases are not growing by actually jumbling up the dates so that after the number of cases on Thursday, they then put the number of cases on for Sunday, leaving Friday and Saturday. I mean, literally, they're like, they will do anything.
Right. Well, that was, I believe, that was the headline that the governor abolished with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday went from Friday and Saturday, Thursday, Sunday.
Because those intervening days just saw a little too much death, and so we're not going to even allow them to exist.
Answering yet again, if a tree falls in the middle of the forest, did it really fall if you didn't hear it?
You sort of paraphrase that incorrectly, right?
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean.
Right. That always made me so uncomfortable, that idea. That
messing with your perception of reality, that just because you don't witness or know something in the first person that there is doubt of its reality. Yeah, that's a very inappropriate way to think.
It makes me like queasy. And another one, never mind. My head just went kaplooey.
That happens a lot.
No, fade to black, as they used to say in television. Fade to black. There was a thought, and then...
See, for me, it's not a fade to black. For me, is I can literally see the tail of the thought thread disappear out the corner of my eye, and I absolutely running after it, making a flying leap for it, and I can't even get close.
Okay, I just found it. I found it.
She turned on the light.
Another phrase is, it disappeared again. Wait a minute. That can't be, right?
That's what happens.
No, that's ridiculous. You have to pounce on it the minute it reappears.
And then even so, you might not. Right.
Yeah.
It's that little tail.
Oh, I got it. Shh. Here's another phrase that freaks me out. The sound of one hand clapping.
Right.
Isn't that sort of akin to if a tree falls in the forest? The sound of it's things like that make my head explode.
Well, I would always argue it depends on where the hand is. I mean, if the hand is in water, there might actually be noise.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did. I'm so glad I
I can always find it. It's whether it's timely or not.
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. It's unbelievable. Meanwhile, I have a quote here. I am looking at it. It came from a news article, and it purports to be the words of our Attorney General. That would be William P. Barr. And he actually said this yesterday. Quote, "As long as I'm Attorney General, the criminal justice system will not be used for partisan political ends." That's as funny as you can touch your own balls, but don't touch
I know.
It is everything.
I know.
God.
Was he naked when he said it, modeling his new three-piece suit?
Jesus. And he was saying
he should be getting a little nervous now. There's too many people that are calling to, excuse the expression, disbar him.
Yeah. Well, not in these times. It'll have to come after November. Something's got to happen here. These unbelievable criminals. So he was saying this in supposedly pushing back against the president, who is suggesting, of course, that both Barack Obama and Joe Biden are criminals who are in need of arrest, right?
Wait a minute. Did you see that part of the press conference where someone asked him exactly what what he did?
Asked who? Asked Barr or
Trump? He asked Trump.
Right.
Exactly. What did you do? What did he do?
What is the crime?
Well, you know what he did. Read
the newspaper. Yeah. Oh, not yours, but read the newspaper. He doesn't. There's nothing.
He has no idea. He didn't get that far in the lie yet.
But this is what I mean about this is KGB Putin stuff, where
this is Senator McCarthy hold up the papers that I have nothing on them and wave them and pretend they're evidence.
You make it, but here's where media is fucking up, because they report this and they don't make clear every single time that this is just made up. This is craziness. And it's so crazy that the friggin' Attorney General can't even go there. He actually said that he didn't think, let me see if I can find again, he doesn't think that there will be any charges brought against Obama and or Biden. Oh, here it is. I don't expect the investigation will lead to criminal investigations of either man, Biden and Obama. So why are you doing it?
Then why do it?
Well, you're doing it because it leaves a stench.
Well, that's right. But no, we aren't using the Department of Justice for political ends.
No. Oh, no. As long as I'm Attorney General, the criminal justice system will not be used.
No. And by the way, did we get Mike out of there yet?
Mike?
Michael Flynn.
Oh, yeah, Michael Flynn. Yeah, there's a great one. Yeah. Unbelievable. Who
we now know got where he got precisely because Obama warned Trump off.
That's why. Yeah, Obama warned him. Right.
Precisely why.
Right. I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. I do too, even though I just made that up. I'll just call it a brilliant flash of thought.
Yes. Well, 'tis true.
Yeah.
Okay. I have something here that knowing your interest in education, I will trot that out. This was a story from a few days ago that was so unbelievably mind-boggling.
Did you watch, by the way, while you're rustling papers, did you
Obama?
Watch the Obama graduation, the whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing.
It was just an hour.
It was too much for me. I found it
totally moving. I just have to say.
That's
I watched
nice.
the whole thing. I thought it was totally moving.
I must have been. I was in a mood, and so I just got annoyed that when Obama was doing his speech, he was not looking at me. I don't know if you noticed that. Maybe it's
he was looking. I did. I saw him.
He was looking off to the side, and that means that I mean it's mind-boggling to me that I was so freaked by that. I kept saying, "Over here, look at me! I'm over here." So
they had the camera in the wrong place.
Well, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't set it up. So, I mean, if there was a teleprompter,
the teleprompter
read and look directly in.
Yes,
now, This is a huge national multi-network production, and that they couldn't have, a better production is just beyond me. I was stunned by it because it took so much power away from it, so much.
Well, for you, maybe. I did just fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
That's that's the problem with professional anythings. It's like why
true.
my daughter can't watch a live production of anything without critiquing everything from the acting to the directing, and I'm going, would you just relax and sit back and enjoy a fine evening at the theater?
Or why lawyers have trouble watching, shows about lawyers. Shows about, it's true, but it made me crazy. Anyway, I want to bring up another horrific cabinet member who has, well, I gave you a clue because I said education.
Education, yes.
And it's interesting because she's hung in there, right? You don't hear a lot.
Yeah, we tried so hard to disappear her, and it did not happen.
No, and there's no disappearing her. And then her brother, of course, Eric Prince, former head of Blackwater, also involved in strange dealings with Russians before Trump. I mean, that family.
And he, by the way, is doing what everybody used to accuse Soros of doing. Yes. He is carting those people in and depositing them on Capitol steps. He is importing malcontents for demonstrations.
Right. Okay. So that's her brother.
Yeah.
Okay. So Betsy DeVos, is head of education, was given $2 trillion because of coronavirus stabilization law. And that $2 trillion is for her to throw a lifeline to schools, right?
Yep.
And it is up to her to figure out how to dispense this money. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's going to religious schools.
It's going to rich schools, religious schools, private schools, wealthy private
everything
schools.
But public education, which is
Here's one. Susan.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's one in Wisconsin. Listen to this. I never heard of it, and I'm not sure where it is in Wisconsin, but the Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, the Wright Graduate University for the Realization of Human Potential.
Oh, my God. That's one of those farms that has a sign on it for a tax dodge.
It says here it is a private college in Wisconsin on whose website it debunks claims that it is a cult. It might be a sign on a barn. It might be a cult.
There are, though. Do you remember? I remember. There were, when we were kids on Highway 41 driving to Chicago, there was a farm that erected a big sign along the highway that I think it was, something like Johnson University. And that was a farmer that just called himself a university and declared himself tax exempt.
A nonprofit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart. Okay.
I think it worked, but Dad always pointed it out.
But so Betsy DeVos
gave him money.
$500,000.
God almighty.
To the Wright Graduate University for the realization of human potential. Okay. Then, as she gives the money away, there's this guidance that comes with it. And it says here, the most contentious move is guidance that directs school districts to increase the share of dollars they spend on students in private schools.
God.
Regardless of income. Support it is meant, this is the when they get the money, you have to support all students attending private schools in your district. So even if you give it to, like, say, the Pittsburgh Public Schools, they then
have to
send it over to what? The Ellis School? Shady Side fucking Academy? Winchester Thurston?
See, that makes absolutely no sense to the extent. So here's where my public education information comes in. Everybody, homeschool, private schools, doesn't matter. Everybody is entitled to access the public system in whatever way they wish, if their school does not provide that. So,
like transportation, like buses.
Well, no, like extracurriculars, for example. There would be homeschooled kids that would play in the school band, or would be allowed to try out for sports teams, but would because they are part of the public system, whether they are availing themselves of the education or not. So if you were telling me that the public schools were being asked to make sure that a certain part of that money was designed to continue to serve the population that they, outside their normal area that they were already serving, I would say absolutely that's what they're supposed to do. I'm sure that's not what it means.
No. It says here, in big cities, which serve the most vulnerable students, the heads of those districts are projecting budget shortfalls of, God knows, 25%. Their tax revenues are collapsing.
I can tell you, when that money was given, what Congress was thinking is every kid needs a computer. Every kid is going to need access to Wi-Fi, whether they have it in their home or not, which is going to mean that we're going to have to, stick buses as hotspots in poorer areas so that kids have access to Wi-Fi. That's what that, to accommodate distance learning, because they have to figure this out before the next year starts if we're still in the same situation. That's in the minds of Congress what that money was for, believe me.
In Louisiana, private schools would receive at least 267% more funding than public. The Newark public schools in New Jersey would lose $800,000 to private schools.
These are our tax dollars, folks.
I know. This is my money.
Stand up and scream about this.
No, because we're inundated on a daily basis with so many things we're supposed to stand up and scream about that we don't even know where to start. Pennsylvania's education secretary has protested vehemently, and he said 53% more money is going to go from the most disadvantaged of our students to the most advantaged of our students in urban districts like Philly.
Yep.
He said,
that's what they do.
Districts.
They steal from the poor, and they give in $500 trillion to bail people out, and they're just sitting on it.
They're not. It's not going anywhere, right?
It's not going anywhere because they're afraid maybe no one's going to pay them back.
I want to put this out there because it is an instance of a Republican doing the right thing. And of all states, from Indiana, which is Mike Pence's former state governorship. The superintendent of public instruction for the state of Indiana is a Republican, Jennifer McCormick, and she says she would not follow the guidance from Betsy DeVos.
Good.
And she said, we will ensure that the funds are distributed according to congressional intent and a plain reading of the law. I will not play political agenda games with COVID relief funds. That's a Republican.
Yep. Well, Republicans were frequently fine people with whom I had disagreements along a continuum. Not whoever these current people. That's just a regular old Republican. I remember those folks well. I had several friends.
Yeah. Did you happen to see the speech, the graduation speech that Senator Ben Sasse did for the students of his state, which I guess is Nebraska?
No.
It is un-effing believable. I couldn't listen to the whole thing. It's insane. And he says a number of times through it, thanks a lot, China. Thanks a lot, China. And then at one point he says, every kid named Jeremy is the worst. What?
What? He says every kid named Jeremy is the worst?
Well, I don't... Yes, he does. I mean, it's hard to explain. I could play it for you, but it is insane. He thought he was being funny, but it's unbelievable. Now, Barbara has sent me Charlie Pierce's take of it. Charlie Pierce, I love. He writes for Esquire. Here, I'll just read it because it's short. Regulars here are familiar with the exploits of young Ben Sasse, Republican senator from Nebraska. Young Ben is often discussed as the future of the Republican Party, since he has loudly proclaimed himself as a leader of that dwindling faction of the GOP, fairly described as not publicly insane. However, this principled stand has not kept him from enabling Trump. He calls him El Cadillo del Mar-a-Lago. He doesn't ever call him Trump. Enabling Trump wherever the rubber meets. Okay. Okay, where is it? It was another one of those interminable conservative hell in a handbasket tomes in which lofty philosophical language is used in place of the phrase kids today. Geez. Anyway, wait. I shouldn't be doing this before I've read it. It's hard to get a handle on what he was going for. Was his odd denunciation of people named Jeremy a signal to Pearl Jam fans in Fremont that he is not with them? Was he trying to be the hip senator who can talk to the young with all that business about climbing the rope in gym class? You can't imagine where this thing was. The denunciation of psychology was probably a pitch for the know-nothing constituency he will need later on. As for the rest, I have no explanation for the point where he makes an I'm old joke and then replies to it himself, or the sudden time warp appearance. Okay, it is the most mind-boggling thing you have ever heard. And if you look it up, you don't have to. It's a waste of your time, but it is mind-boggling. Hey, I got something else. You know how I guess there's the German soccer teams. They're starting to play, but there are no fans in the stands, so they have cutouts, cardboard cutouts. They had people actually send in pictures of
themselves and taped them in the streets.
Yeah.
I was figuring they could pipe in cheers. They just have to have a sound person going in, and it'll help them.
That's right. They can do that. But there was a soccer team in South Korea that tried to do the same thing, but they had a better idea. They said, cardboard, let's get mannequins, at least, something three-dimensional, and we'll stick them in. And so they did, and they're all socially distanced properly. There's 2 seats in between each mannequin. Unfortunately, the people who put these mannequins in failed to recognize something that anyone would have recognized immediately. They're sex dolls.
I was assuming that for some reason. That's sort of what I pictured.
Yeah, right. Does somebody, first of all, the person's putting them in the stands wouldn't have thought, this is weird, they're all women. Don't we have any male mannequins? And they all have such big boobs and strange mouths. So all hell broke loose because it was on, and South Koreans are outraged and said that it shows we will be globally humiliated.
Now we've taken care of that.
No. When it comes to global humiliation, don't worry. You couldn't catch us. Yeah, you couldn't catch us in a sex dolls. We'll take them in a minute.
Just send one to Donnie. It's all cool.
Oh, jeez. I mean, yeah. Can you imagine? That was greeted with outrage instead of laughter. I can't believe it. So they said, oh, my God, we received assurances when the dolls were procured that they were just ordinary dolls, made to look just like real people. Oh, God. It reminds me, of course, of a story I did 40 years ago when the first HOV lane was introduced in Pittsburgh. And we didn't even know what HOV stood for. What did it stand for? What did that stand for? HOV.
I don't know, but it's the lane where you have to have more people in it, but I don't know what it stands for.
HOV, come on. Something vehicle. Okay, V's got to be vehicle. I don't know. Thank you, Amy. High occupancy.
Okay, so you have to be stoned in that lane.
So I did a piece in which I drove on, with a photographer obviously, onto the HOV lane all by myself.
Oh, I remember with an Afghan.
I did. I got a dog to sit in the front passenger seat, an Afghan. Where'd we get that friggin' Afghan? How would we know anyone with an Afghan? But if you ever looked at an Afghan from the back, it looks like a woman with, tall woman with gorgeous long hair, right? So I had the Afghan in the front seat, and then I went down to, at the time, what was a seedy section of Pittsburgh, now the new theater district, and there was a sex shop. And that was the first time I ever saw a sex doll. So I bought a blow-up sex doll and was astonished when I blew her up. I mean, I thought, oh, my God, look at that. So I put her in the back seat, and, yeah, I just drove right on. I'm just saying, I drove right on.
I remember this at the time. I was chortling at the time.
Yeah. Man, they don't make newscasts like that anymore.
No.
I'll tell you. We used to have some fun. All right. Oh, here's something that really bummed me out. You know the pop singer Adele?
Yeah.
One of the things I always sort of liked about her
was that she was pleasingly plump.
Yeah, that she looked like a real person.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
She succumbed. No, I know.
She lost 100 friggin' pounds. And there's a picture of her in a short dress, not even looking like her. I mean, I don't even recognize her. And, you know, I'm sorry that people think that there's only one body you're supposed to have. It just drives me nuts. And, of course, she did this with the help of, you know, of a million people that with her money she can do. She had a daily workout with a trainer. She was put on a specific, you know, diet, 1,000 calories. She was drinking some hideous green juice in the morning and not eating again until late afternoon. By the way, all of these things that you're not going to continue. I mean, it's just.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Don't worry. She'll go back to weight the way her body was designed to be.
Yeah, I think so,
in due time.
God.
I agree with you. It was actually even though I was chortling as Nancy Pelosi said it about Trump, I was thinking, you know.
Fat shaming.
It was fat shaming. And you know, right now I'm skinny. And that's just because right now that's what my body says it is. For years and years and years, I weighed 30 pounds more than I weigh now and was, as even my good friends said, a woman of a certain size. You know, it's just the way I was at that time. What it meant at that time is I was just happy.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah.
And not anxious.
Yeah.
You know, so I think bodies tend to just be what bodies are, and you can eat this way or you can eat that way, but most of us generally just settle where our body type dictates.
Yeah, I really feel bad that somehow and I'm sure, you know, you do feel incredible when all of a sudden, wow, now I look like, you know, because that's what we're taught to believe, that this is what a woman is supposed to look like when she was a beautiful woman before.
Right. And I'll admit, you know, if it mattered that if there were any place to go, when I look like this, I can wear anything I want. I look very good in clothes. That said, I don't give a damn. I don't go anywhere and I wear sweatpants. Who gives a
Yeah.
And I wouldn't look this good if most of the clothes weren't designed by people that thought that women were shaped like, I don't know, adolescent boys.
Like adolescent boys.
No hips, no breasts, broad shoulders.
Yeah.
But broad shoulders. That's how I'm built. Broad shoulders. That's your good hanger. I have no hips, and I have nothing that sticks out anywhere.
Right.
So I look good in clothes.
Right. You're a hanger. That's what they say models are supposed to be. It's like a hanger.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know. So, how's Mom?
You didn't even know, and the audience doesn't need to know, but Mother and I had an adventure. We had to go to an urgent care.
Oh, no. Why?
Well, I just, you know, maybe I should tell this story because I'm going to guess that it's the same way where you are as it is where we are, which is I called our friend who works at the major hospital in town in a panic and said, what do I do? First of all, because it was Sunday. And she said, call your doctor's office. Just go ahead, call your doctor's office. So I called the doctor's office. A nurse called me back in short order, discussed what was going on with the nurse, and she then did a COVID screening, and she told me to take Mom to a urgent care that I would not necessarily go to. And if we had a mask, to mask up, and no, I would not be allowed in. And then I called back our friend who said, good, they don't allow any respiratory cases there at all. So they have
this
triage.
Wait, okay, keep going.
It wasn't, no, it was cellulitis. It was just her foot again, and she needed antibiotics, and she got them. But when I brought her in there was thankfully nobody there. I waited outside, but parked in such a way that I could see her through the window. I saw she got taken in immediately, and while she was there, they checked her out 3 ways to Sunday, as that expression is. I don't know where that came from, and
pronounced her fit. Yeah,
and pronounced her fit, and I took her home, and she's been complaining ever since, but all's well. But I tell you this story to say, if you need to go someplace, if you're truly ill, please don't delay. The hospitals have had more than enough time to triage and to figure out where to send folks so that they are not mixing populations with infectious populations.
Right.
So
they're doing it
don't necessarily assume that you're going to go to the urgent care that you always go to. Call your doctor. They'll direct you. They'll tell you where to go. And seek the help you need. Don't die just because you are afraid to go. It's all okay.
Okay.
That's my public service announcement.
I went to a doctor yesterday. This was something I had to do. And I was a little uncomfortable, but it was, like clockwork. I mean, they had tape on the stand there. I couldn't get near anybody. I was the only person in the waiting room, and then the only person. It was done with no problem.
Right.
And the people there were very, 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 very nice and relaxed, and no problem. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Please, everybody, do what they need to do. They've had more than enough time, and your local folks are a whole lot smarter than the folks up top. So they're trying to do their best, and I think it's at this point that we should trust them. But our mother is fine. Everything's good. Okay,
wait, we have a caller? I was just about to say goodbye.
Okay, we'll take the caller.
We'll take the caller. Hello?
Yes, good morning, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn, I got some good news for you this morning.
Good.
And for Susan. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You are not your body. The reason why everybody, let's listen to me, it's more powerful than that. That's a very powerful statement. No, listen, if you laugh. Susan, you laugh. Susan mentioned she can carry her body everywhere. Your body is just like a wrap.
It's a shell.
That's not who you are.
It's a shell.
And that's why we can control women by making you into these patterns of shells that we can judge the shells. You can't judge the spirit. We can only judge your shell and make fun of you by the outside exterior. Right. Internally, you are God. So by me making fun of you exteriorly, it's easy for me to do. I can look at you and say, your body's bad. It's dysfunctional. It's fat. It's sickening. Your body is not you. So what you're doing is you're making fun of that external part of that person.
That's
internally, right. You cannot do that to that person. That is a spirit that you. So Susan, you understand. You are carrying your spirit with you inside of you, and that's where you can go anywhere. That spirit goes anywhere because you're invisible. That shell you just carry around with you, so we can see you.
That is correct.
We wouldn't see.
Right. That is right.
That's pretty deep, though.
It is.
And some would argue that women of a certain age are invisible anyway. but
all women, men or women, just think about that. All of us.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
So, but the only way we can categorize us into boxes is to make sure the exterior is is put into boxes or put into evaluations, judge, good, bad, good, bad. Everybody does
right.
that.
And that holds true for race and religion and all those other things,
everything.
too.
Of course, it's all a mirage. You see, it's all a mirage. You're not looking at, we're looking at all the exterior images and not looking at the internal soul. If you do that, your whole life will change because, you see, does it make, that doesn't make any sense or not?
No, you're making perfect sense. I mean,
you're making perfect sense.
So everybody got to do
perfect
that.
Sense.
All women are.
We are not our bodies. Our souls, our being is invisible. It's right.
It's spirit.
Gotcha.
So if everybody would live like that, and you would look at each other as bodies, you would look at your spirit and say, "How can I help you as a spirit?" Because you're only your spirit. Okay, the body. And I tell my wife, she's a nurse. I said, "What happens when a body dies? You don't take care of that body anymore because why? The body's just a shell that you carry into. You taking care of the internal soul. So the body just a way or means to the soul. So nothing. This body is just really.
Yeah, but it carries us around. Wait a minute. It carries us around, and our body. We need to take care of our shells because our souls get to be around longer if we do take care of our shells.
Well, of course, you want to take care of it. If you realize you're the spirit, you're going to want to take care of the body because it's all part of one system or one unit.
That's right.
So I get off my machine. I was doing my exercise machine on the elliptical machine. So while I was talking about my body and the unimportance of it, I was exercising before I called you. So therefore, I do appreciate the body's means. All the body's means is to make you get around. So I'm invisible. You can't see me. I can't see you. But I can see your soul, and I know your soul is good. I know Sue's soul is good. Because why? Because I hear your words. Through your words, which are invisible, I know your soul. Okay? Does that make any sense? You are beautiful. Sure. You are beautiful, Susan. And you are beautiful.
Well, I think you should quit right there. I like that. We are beautiful. Get back on your elliptical.
Well, I'm done now. I completed
that's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
My call. Thank you, Lynn, for letting me.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh my! All right, Susan, shell and all.
All right.
So
I'm going
you're
to take
saying
this beautiful shell off and work up the guts to deal with my trainer this morning. So.
Oh yeah. Ooh. So, Mom is okay. She's taking the antibiotics.
She's taking the antibiotics. She is in a little pain, but
pain.
Yeah, she's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll call later. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Suze.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. And all you beautiful people out there, shells and all, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.